Revealed, how one touching moment transformed a black waitress's life. Her husband's incredible. It was a typical evening at the diner, the kind where laughter flowed like the coffee, and the smell of pancakes hung in the air like a beloved memory. Michelle, a 32-year-old waitress with a warm smile, navigated the bustling space, balancing plates filled with comfort food. Every inch of her life revolved around her 2 children, and this diner crowded with regulars who knew her by name felt like home. But beneath the clatter of cutlery and casual banter lay an undercurrent of fatigue, a daily battle against financial pressure and the relentless tides of judgment. Mr. Thompson, the grizzled veteran who often sat at booth number 6, captivated her attention. He always held a small sack of coins ready for tips, but today was different. After finishing his meal, he slid a crisp bill across the table with a gentle nod. Michelle's heart swelled as she unfolded the note tucked under it. "You're doing a great job. This town needs more like you," he wrote in shaky, kind handwriting. Tears pricked at her eyes. She felt seen, appreciated in a way she hadn't seen in too long, but as the warmth of his kindness enveloped her, the harsh whispers of judgment drew near. The wealthier patrons often glanced her way, dismissing her efforts with scornful comments about service and understanding. Just a waitress, they seemed to think, their privilege casting shadows over her dedication. In that moment, tightness gripped her chest, a familiar ache that reminded her of her struggle. She stood at the crossroads between allowing their chill to trample her spirit or rising against the indignities she faced day after day. One evening, as complaints buzzed through the diner like flies around an open window, Michelle overheard harsh words. "She is slow. I could do better," a voice sneered. Her heart raced. Tightening her fists, she felt the disdain wash over her, igniting a fire within. She thought of her husband, navigating his own struggle with unemployment, and her children, their dreams resting on her shoulders. With each breath, she gathered her strength. In a moment of raw courage, Michelle faced the diners, her voice unwavering. "We work hard. Every day, we give our all," she declared, her heart pounding. The room fell silent, every eye on her. "We are worth more than our jobs. We are human." She felt the weight of countless silent voices behind her, echoing in unison as if finally given permission to rise, but the tides of prejudice ran deep. Some patrons nodded in support while others shook their heads, anger cracking their faces like creaking tree branches. "It's not about race, it's about merit," a wealthy voice shouted. Tension crackled in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. For the first time, the diner's walls bore witness to the struggle for dignity, a wider conversation about privilege brewing within its walls. As Michelle stood at the center of this awakening, her heart raced with hope and doubt, mingling like the rising steam from the coffee pots. Would this moment change anything? Or were the bonds of prejudice too strong? Perhaps one moment of kindness, even from someone like Mr. Thompson, could light a spark of empathy that lingered in their community. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she scanned the diner, a soft simmer of possibility hung in the air. Could they recognize her humanity? Could her voice, a voice born from the heart, unite them around a deeper understanding? With the future trembling on the edge, she wondered if this was just the beginning or if the fight for respect and dignity would fade into the background noise. Would her courage ripple through the community, or would the echoes of doubt drown it out? The silence that followed Michelle's proclamation felt electric, a moment suspended in time. She could almost hear the collective heartbeat of the diner, the mixed emotions wrestling in the air like storm clouds. She caught sight of Mr. Thompson, his eyes glimmering with encouragement, an anchoring presence amid the backlash swirling around her. Across the room, the wealthy patron who had spat the words about merit crossed his arms defensively, his jaw set. Yet there were others, too. A middle-aged woman at the counter put down her coffee cup, brows furrowed in contemplation. Michelle could see the struggle on her face, the push and pull of realization. Could it be that Michelle's words were stirring something dormant within her? An uneasy tension lingered, but it was punctured by a timid voice. One of the younger servers, a girl named Katie, knelt down beside Michelle. "You're right," she whispered, glancing at the tables where the patrons had begun to murmur. "I feel it too. I'm tired of being treated like I don't matter." The resolve in her voice brought a flicker of hope to Michelle's heart. Then, an unexpected ally rose. Old Mrs. Johnson, a long-time diner regular with a penchant for sweet tea, stood from her booth. "I've been coming here for years, and I've seen Michelle juggle plates while raising her children. You can't measure a person's worth just by their job." Her voice, though shaky, carried a warmth that held the room's attention. A ripple of agreement threaded through the crowd as hesitant nods began to emerge, softening the rigidity of resistance. Michelle felt her heartbeat synchronize with the pulses of empathy flourishing within their midst. This wasn't merely her fight anymore, it was a shared awakening. As the conversation grew, voices that had once remained silent now found expression. Each story was a thread woven into a larger tapestry of understanding. A student spoke up, recalling the many late-night shifts he'd watched Michelle work, his eyes glistening with admiration. "She's not just doing a job, she's laying the foundation for all of our futures." The comments reached their zenith, a bubbling cauldron of solidarity. But not everyone welcomed this change. That wealthy patron, his face reddening with indignation, bellowed back. "You're only encouraging mediocrity. This is a cafe, not a place for your sob story." Michelle's heart sank momentarily. Did they have a chance to truly change minds? Cyber snowstorms of anger and defensiveness cascaded through the space, but amidst them, Michelle clutched her resolve tighter. "It's not just about me. We're talking about respect, about recognizing our humanity regardless of what we do for a living." Suddenly, she smelled the rich aroma of fresh coffee, a scent that had always been comforting but now felt like a lifeline. She directed her gaze back to her children, tucked away at a corner booth with their coloring books. They were the light that burned bright in her heart, igniting a fierce determination within her. "Every single person here has a role," she continued, her voice growing steadier. "And we deserve recognition, whether we serve pancakes or sit in plush chairs. Every plate served carries dreams, families, hopes. None of us can dismiss that." With that challenge lingering in the air, a contemplative silence settled once more, this time rich with potential. Michelle had taken a leap, but she knew the ground was still shaky. Was this confrontation enough to spark lasting change, or would prejudice seal the diner in a cycle of discord once more? A fleeting glance at Mr. Thompson revealed a broader question: could one moment of truth ignite the flame of compassion needed to brighten their community? In the wake of her words, the stakes felt higher than ever. Just as the first embers of understanding began to glow, another diner, a woman she had never seen before, stood up, face pale but determined. "You don't know what happens when someone stands up," she said, voice trembling. "But I have to share my story." Michelle's breath hitched. What revelation awaited them? The murmur in the diner shifted toward the woman at the front, her eyes wide with vulnerability and urgency. Michelle recognized that tense expression. It was a mirror of her own fears just moments ago. Who was she, and what could she possibly reveal that would matter here? "My name is Lucy," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I used to take my husband's paycheck to the bank every week, believing that was all I needed to do. I thought serving was just a job, until I saw how hard he worked." Her gaze fixed on the wealthy patron, as if challenging him. A decade ago, her husband had been a mechanic, a position doing valuable work yet never awarded the respect it deserved. He'd come home bruised and sore. And I would rake my fingers through his hair, listening to him talk about his day with the same passion as an artist describes their masterpiece. "You change lives, you know," I'd tell him, but truthfully, I didn't believe it. The room hung heavily on her words. Michelle could practically watch the memories flicker in Lucy's eyes. Then one day, he got injured. A freak accident, something that shouldn't have happened. Suddenly, he couldn't be the breadwinner anymore. I had to step in. Murmurs rippled through the crowd again, the sounds of chairs scraping as more people leaned in to hear. Lucy continued, the tightness in her chest palpable. I took on a job as a waitress. I can't tell you how many times I faced scornful looks or brusque comments. I began to feel invisible, like I was too small to matter. Tears glimmered in her voice, but she held them at bay. But I also realized something important. I was no longer just Lucy the waitress, I was Lucy, a woman doing everything she could for her family. And as I served tables, I would often think of my husband. He was wise, lovely, and fought hard for his respect. He taught me that worth isn't measured by the size of your paycheck or your job title. With every word, Lucy breathed life into the truth that had been buried inside the diner. Everyone carried stories that deserved to be honored, no matter the facade they wore. I finally understood what Michelle is saying. Every plate we carry and every drink we pour isn't just a movement through space, it carries our legacies, our struggles, hopes, and dreams. There was a moment of silence as Lucy's confession sank in, the air heavy with the weight of shared experience and vulnerability. Unbeknownst to her, she was striking chords in the hearts of those who found themselves too afraid to speak, resonating with others who felt unseen. Today, I stand with Michelle, Lucy finally proclaimed, her voice louder now, filled with strength. We deserve the same respect, regardless of your job. Her declaration sparked a spark of energy in the room, hearts beating together like drums in a chorus. Michelle felt the fire igniting again. Perhaps this was the moment. Perhaps this was the time to channel their voices into a symphony of change. The wealthy patron turned crimson, unsupported by the swell of communal support surrounding them. The atmosphere had shifted dramatically, and even he seemed daunted by the collective bravery. Then, the diner door swung open with a clang, freezing everyone's attention. A man strode in, a familiar figure whose presence could only mean one thing. Michelle's heart raced. Would he stand with them, or against? The weight of that question hung thick in the air. What would it mean for her family, and their fight for respect? Would his stance help tip the scales of this revolution that had begun in their midst? The diner fell into an expectant hush, each jaw clenching with trepidation as the man made his way inside. It was Paul, Michelle's older brother, and with him came a history that neither of them could ignore. He had been a light in her childhood, always dreaming of a better life, always fighting for what was right. But over the years, his bright flame had dimmed under the weight of reality. Michelle? He called, scanning the faces in the diner until they locked eyes. What is going on? His brow furrowed as he reached her side, his focus shifting toward Lucy, who stood anchored in her own powerful truth. We're standing up for respect, Michelle replied, the words tumbling from her lips before she could moderate their weight. For everyone who feels like they don't matter. Paul's gaze traveled over the crowd, observing the faces filled with determination and pain. He swallowed hard, a storm of emotions brewing within him. This is brave, he finally said, though skepticism laced his tone. But what will it change? Loud whispers spread through the diner like wildfire, a mixture of support and criticism. We need to make our voices heard. Someone shouted, while another murmured, nothing's ever going to change. Michelle felt both sides weighing heavily on her heart. Paul put a comforting hand on her shoulder, but she felt something more severe: fear. What would it mean if her brother, her protector, turned and walked away? Look, she began, her voice low yet resolute. You have to believe this matters. Just like Lucy said, serving isn't just a job for us. It's a life filled with struggles, and we deserve to be acknowledged for it. Paul's expression softened. I get that, but you know the world doesn't work like that. Change takes time, and sometimes, it fails. Lucy interjected, her voice ringing with purpose. You're wrong. Change begins here, in this moment. We're all telling our stories. That's how it starts. We're tired of being invisible. As the crowd murmured their agreement, Michelle's heart surged. They were beginning to see it, to feel the swell of something profound rising among them. She felt her brother's grip tighten on her shoulder. "I see you, Michelle. I see all of you." Paul's voice broke, revealing cracks in his collected demeanor. "Maybe I'm not the leader I thought I could be. Maybe it's not too late for me, either." Something shifted in the air, a ripple of realization that spread through the crowd. More faces turned toward Paul with a mixture of admiration and empathy. "I've lost my way," he confessed, his voice quavering. "I don't have all the answers, but maybe standing here in solidarity is the first step for us all." A wave of energy washed over them, new lifeblood filling the diner, pushing doubt to the side. There was an undeniable strength that came from vulnerability, a spirit shared among those gathered. Paul's admission sparked something powerful, hope coupled with action. Michelle felt alive, electric with the pulse of possibility. This was just the beginning. Maybe they could inspire change not just within their little diner, but beyond it, for the world at large. But then, as quickly as that thought struck, the diner door creaked again. This time, they all turned as a familiar voice boomed from the entrance. "Hey, what is going on in here? Are we starting a revolution or just another lunch service?" The warmth of the new arrival wrapped around the diner, blending laughter with urgency. Everyone looked, curiosity bubbling in the air. Who was this new player, and how would they influence the fight that was already brewing? Michelle felt her heart quicken once more, the next chapter of their shared story unwritten and waiting to unfold. The door swung wide, revealing Jessie, a local community organizer and ally known for her spirited approach to social change. She wore her signature bright yellow jacket, a flash of sunshine against the diner's muted tones, and her laughter washed over the crowd like a much-needed rainstorm. Jessie's grin fell into a curious frown as she noticed the charged atmosphere. "What's this? A family meeting I didn't get invited to?" Michelle stepped forward, her heart pounding anew. "We're starting something," she replied, voice steady despite the jitters in her belly. "A movement for respect, for all of us who feel unheard." The words hung in the air like the sweet scent of coffee mingling with pie. Jessie's smile returned, igniting a flicker of hope in the room. "Now that's what I'm talking about. We can't change the world alone. What do you need?" Paul watched Jessie with interest, admiration flickering in his eyes. He remembered her tireless work in the neighborhood, how she gathered people together for rallies and discussions. Her presence seemed to breathe new life into the room, bridging the gap between doubt and action. Lucy nodded, stepping forward to address Jessie. "We're like any family, you know. Just needing someone to see us, to help us fight for our place." The crowd murmured in agreement, nods of understanding passing among them. Jessie clasped her hands together, her enthusiasm palpable. "Every single person here counts. We start small with voices, stories, actions that snowball. Raise awareness, show the world what you face every day." With each word Jessie spoke, Michelle felt the framework of their gathering solidify. The diner's air crackled with anticipation, the diner's tables and booths transformed into something more than furniture. They became a stage for something larger. Paul's shoulders relaxed, and he moved closer to Michelle. "Your idea, it can't just be a thought. It needs a plan." Michelle beamed at her brother. "We can share our stories here, bring in the community to share theirs, and host an open mic night. Let us fill the diner with voices, let people spill their truths." The idea blossomed, spreading from her like wildfire. Jessie's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Yes. Invite people in. This diner will become a beacon. We need a social media presence, too. Let us make those stories heard beyond these walls." The energy surged, filling the diner with a renewed sense of purpose, people leaning in closer, their hearts burnt with the fire of shared truth. "Okay, but how do we begin?" Someone called from the back, their voice eager and tinged with hope. Jessie clasped her hands once more, bringing the attention back to her. Let's do a community meeting, right here. We'll announce it on social media, make posters, get everyone in. Let's carve out a space where everyone can speak. As Jesse initiated plans, the crowd began brainstorming, excitement weaving through the air. Ideas flared up like candles, illuminating each face, igniting passion. Michelle's heart soared. They had allies, a community ready to join the chorus of change, yet just as the chatter reached a peak, the door creaked open again. This time, a looming figure stepped in, a man dressed sharply, but with a tense energy radiating from him that sent chills through Michelle. Who was he? What did he want? With each step, the ground felt a little less certain, and unease broke the triumph of the moment. As he approached the counter, everyone held their breath, wondering what this stranger would bring to their newfound resolve. Michelle felt the urgency build within her, a mixture of hope and anxiety. Would he challenge their burgeoning movement, or could he become a surprising ally in their fight? What awaited them was beyond her imagination. The stranger paused just inside the door, his eyes scanning the room like he was measuring the weight of each soul present. The diner fell silent, the hum of excited chatter replaced by an uneasy stillness. Michelle could feel her heart pounding in her ears. She exchanged glances with Paul and Lucy, who mirrored her concern. The man was tall, his tailored suit giving him an air of authority, but it was the tension in his clenched fists that made him seem intimidating. "Can I help you?" Jesse's voice finally broke the silence, calm yet probing. The man took a step forward, his expression unreadable. "I'm here for a meeting about community issues and outreach." His voice, a low rumble, reverberated through the diner, drawing eyes toward him. "I heard you all were starting something interesting." Jesse smiled warmly, trying to ease the crowd's apprehension. "That's right. We're planning to host events to uplift our voices and share our stories. It's all about respect and community collaboration." "What kind of collaboration are you looking for?" He folded his arms, seeming skeptical though a flicker of curiosity sparked in his eyes. Michelle felt boldness rise up within her. "We want to create a space where everyone can speak. We've been ignored for too long. We're tired of being overlooked. We want to be heard." The man studied her for a moment before nodding slowly. "I'm Marcus. And I think I can help you with that." As his name left his mouth, the tension in the room shifted ever so slightly. Jessie's eyes widened, and she stepped forward. "Help us how?" "I work with the city council," Marcus answered, leaning against the counter. "I handle community affairs. We need organizers who are willing to put in the work. Your passion is palpable, but you'll need more than just voices. We need a structured approach to get the city's support." Michelle's heart raced with hope. "You mean you could actually help us get noticed?" "I can guide you. But it requires effort and commitment. We can start with connecting you to resources, maybe even funding," he replied, his voice steady. Excited murmurs rippled through the diner. Lucy's eyes sparkled as she whispered to Paul, and they shared a hopeful glance. Jessie stepped beside Michelle, her presence radiating confidence. "This is what we need. We can gather stories, rally people, and with Marcus's help, we can grow." Marcus held up his hand, his expression turning serious. "But with opportunity comes responsibility. Everyone needs to be on board. What you're proposing will take work, and it can't be just chatter. Are you all in?" Michelle exchanged glances with Paul and Lucy again. This was the moment she had been dreaming about, but it felt monumental. It wasn't just her dream anymore, it was all of theirs. "Yes," she declared, her voice laced with determination. "We're all in." A chorus of agreements echoed through the diner, building momentum. But Marcus raised an eyebrow, his gaze shifting to the window beside him. "Just know that change often comes with resistance. Not everyone will be supportive." The words hung in the air as the previously buzzing energy turned somber. Michelle felt the weight of that reality settle in her chest. Would they be strong enough to face opposition? "Let's get started then," Jessie said, holding on to that flicker of hope. We'll need a date, a plan. You've got to lead us, Marcus. Michelle stepped closer again, determination coursing through her. As Marcus began to outline the next steps, she couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing outside, not just weather-related, but a shift in their community. The door rattled, and though they were gathering strength within, Michelle felt uncertainty looming just beyond their walls. Would Marcus's guidance lead them to victory, or amplify the challenges they faced? As the question lingered, she knew this was only the beginning. Jessie was on fire, diving into the details with Marcus. The two of them painted a vivid picture of the events they could organize. There was a contagious excitement in the air as they bounced ideas off each other, pulling everyone into their vision. Michelle felt a swell of pride as her friends clustered together, their faces lit by the unsung promise of what was to come, but in the back of her mind, a nagging voice whispered doubts. She glanced at Lucy, who was lost in thought, and Paul, who was nodding vigorously. Would they truly be prepared for the backlash that Marcus had mentioned? The thought prickled at her like a thorn. Marcus started outlining a potential flyer, a way to advertise their first meeting. He wrote down ideas as the rest of the diner creaked back to life, a soft hum of chatter lapping around them like soothing waves. Michelle focused intently on every word. Yet, now and then, her gaze drifted back to the window, the clouds bunching together in heavy, gray masses. What if someone tries to sabotage us? Lucy finally spoke up, breaking Michelle's reverie. Then we handle it. Together, Jessie replied confidently, casting a glance around the diner. This is our moment to shine, and no one can take that from us. Michelle felt the warmth of Jessie's words wrap around her like a hug. It felt good, invigorating even, but the fear still lingered. She watched Marcus scribble ideas and collaborative tasks. He seemed like a pillar of strength, but she needed to know more. Marcus, can we really do this? She spoke up, drawing the attention back to herself. He stopped writing and looked straight at her. If you want change, you have to make it happen. You will have naysayers, but you will also gather supporters. It's all about reaching out, being visible, and staying committed. His confident demeanor made her feel slightly more at ease, but that worry still nagged at her. Commitment means sacrifices too, Marcus continued. It means evenings spent planning, late nights gathering stories, and a lot of resilience when things get tough. Resilience, Michelle muttered under her breath. She felt her chest swell. It was more than just hope and structure, it was about fighting for something they all believed in. Let us form a team, Jessie suggested, raising her eyebrows as if challenging everyone. Let us make sure we have different voices represented in our planning sessions. Loud cheers erupted. Everyone was on board, thrilled to embark on this journey together. The sound of thunder rumbled outside, causing a few heads to turn towards the window. Looks like the storm is here, Paul noted, glancing at the heavy gray clouds swirling, but something changed within Michelle at that moment. She was part of something bigger now, a community, a movement. She knew there'd be a storm, but she also felt an inner certainty that they could weather it together. Let us do it, Michelle said, raising her voice. The excitement in the room swelled like the force of the thunderclaps outside. Suddenly, the door swung open, letting in a gust of wind and rain. The diner's warmth turned chilly, and the storm was more than just weather. A man stepped inside, drenched, his clothes clinging to him like a second skin. Gasps filled the air, and the aura shifted once again. They hadn't just been prepping for potential descent, they had to contend with the unpredictable as well. The stranger scanned the room, his expression unreadable, eyes darting from face to face. Michelle felt a chill creep up her spine. What did he want? With the air thickening around them, she realized their moment had just begun. But a new question loomed large: was this unexpected arrival friend or foe? As uncertainty hung in the air, she knew they had to brace themselves for whatever came next. The stranger took a step forward, dripping water onto the diner's floor, the sound of it echoing in the suddenly silent room. Michelle's heart began to race. Everyone had stopped chatting, all eyes drawn to him. Uncertainty crackled in the air like static electricity. "Can I help you?" Jessie's brave voice finally broke through. She stood tall, as if challenging the storm that lingered outside. The stranger hesitated. He ran a hand through his wet hair, letting the rainwater drip from his fingertips. I need to speak with someone," he stammered, his voice hoarse but urgent. "It's important." "Who do you want to talk to?" Paul asked, raising an eyebrow, half skeptical, half curious. The man looked around, his gaze landing on Michelle. It's you I need to talk to." Michelle's stomach twisted. "Me? Why?" "Because," he took a deep breath, eyes filled with emotion, "you're the one I've been looking for. You're the only one who can help me make things right." "What do you mean?" Her voice was steady, but inside, doubt churned like the storm outside. She could feel Jessie's hand squeeze her arm, a silent show of support. "My name's Daniel," the man began, his posture relaxing slightly. I'm a friend of your grandmother." Gasps flitted across the diner. Michelle's heart thudded in her chest. Her grandmother. She had always been a steadfast anchor in her life, a guiding light through rough waters. "What do you want from me?" Michelle asked, torn between intrigue and apprehension. "In the years before she passed, she spoke of you often," he continued, his voice softening. "She had something that belonged to you, a story, really. Something that you have to know." Michelle's heartbeat quickened. What could he possibly mean? Her grandmother had always shared the family's history, every wrinkle and tear of their past. What more could there be? "She loved you deeply, and she wanted you to understand. It matters now more than ever," Daniel urged, his voice steady yet full of emotion. Lucy edged closer, her brow furrowed, concern written across her face. "What does that mean? What happened to her?" Daniel swallowed hard. "She passed away, just a few months ago. I promised her I would find you, that I would share her secrets and her love." A wave of grief washed over Michelle. She had lost her grandmother just when she needed her the most. All those shared moments felt like threads now unwoven. "I want to know what she wanted to tell me," Michelle said, the weight of uncertainty easing slightly. Would this revelation be the tipping point in her journey? A chance to learn something to empower her in their coming fight. There was a look of gratitude in Daniel's eyes. "Meet me tomorrow at the crest of the hill. It overlooks your grandmother's old house. I can explain everything." The room was buzzing with whispers, tension spilling over like rainwater pooling on the floor. Jessie leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Michelle's mind raced. She faced a crossroads. Should she embrace this unexpected twist, venturing into unknown territory, or should she let fear hold her back? She knew that knowledge could bring strength. But would it also bring the weight of responsibility? "Yeah, I need to," Michelle replied, the resolve coursing through her. How each revelation shaped their movement, she couldn't guess. Daniel nodded slowly. "Then I'll see you tomorrow." As he turned to leave, the tension in the diner shifted once more. Everyone held their breath, caught between hope and uncertainty. The door swung shut behind him, the wind howling ominously outside. And in that moment, she realized their mission was going beyond organizing. This was about healing wounds, uncovering truths, and perhaps uniting even more than just a movement. Michelle glanced at her friends, determination flooding her veins. What awaited her at the hill? What stories were buried, waiting to surface? A knock echoed in her heart as the storm raged on, and she wondered if she was ready to confront not just the storm outside but the one within her as well. The following morning, Michelle woke before the sun. The storm from last night had turned into a soft drizzle, the kind that blurred the edges of the world and wrapped everything in a silken gray. She lay in bed, heart heavy with anticipation and a hint of fear. What was Daniel going to reveal? She knew she needed to go, but a whirlwind of questions swirled around in her mind. Why had her grandmother kept secrets? What stories were hidden there, and why did they matter so much now? Michelle showered quickly, her mind racing as she dressed. She chose a simple sweater, the fabric cozy and reassuring. It reminded her of afternoons spent with her grandmother, curled up on the couch, sipping tea and sharing stories of old. Each thread felt woven with love, just like the history that might soon be unveiled. As she stepped outside, cool air wrapped around her. The drizzle turned light, drumming softly against the pavement. The world felt peaceful, almost too calm considering the turmoil inside her. She inhaled deeply, letting the scent of fresh rain fill her lungs. Her friends had agreed to join her. Jessie was already waiting in her car, bouncing on her toes and brimming with encouragement. "Hey, you ready?" Jessie called out, her voice bright against the backdrop of gray. "Yeah, let us do this," Michelle answered, though her heart fluttered with uncertainty. They drove in silence, the rhythmic pitter-patter of rain against the windshield echoing the beat of her anxious heart. When they arrived at the crest of the hill, the view struck Michelle like a bolt of lightning. The rolling landscape stretched before her, a lush swath of green kissed by lingering clouds. The sight of her grandmother's old house, so familiar yet distant, brought back a torrent of memories. She could almost see her grandmother standing on the porch, waving as she drove away. "Looks like we got here first," Jessie said, breaking Michelle's reverie. "Take a breath. Whatever this is about, it'll be okay." Michelle nodded, but she couldn't shake the feeling of being on the edge of something monumental. As they stood waiting, she glanced down the path, anxiously scanning for any sign of Daniel. The minutes felt like hours. Just then, she spotted him, walking briskly toward them, his demeanor serious yet softened by recognition as their eyes met. "Thank you for coming," Daniel said, catching his breath. "I know this might seem overwhelming. I want to hear what you have to say," Michelle interrupted, her voice steady but laced with raw emotion. "Okay," he said, nodding appreciatively. "Your grandmother wanted you to have this. It's a story of her past, of love and loss. You need to understand the choices she made and the reasons behind them." A chill ran down Michelle's spine. This was at the moment she had been waiting for. "Before I get into that," Daniel continued, "I should mention that she spoke about a decision she made that could change everything for you, something she would never regret but always carry." As he talked, Michelle's mind spun. Secrets can bind relatives together, but they also build walls. What was this choice? And how could it connect to her own struggles? Daniel paused, drawing in a deep breath, and looked deep into her eyes. "Michelle, there is something that connects you to a legacy far greater than you know, something that might offer you guidance in the fight ahead." A thick silence cloaked the hilltop, broken only by the soft patter of raindrops. With each passing second, the weight of her grandmother's past felt heavier, yet it also ignited an ember of hope within her. She was ready to learn. But the question loomed, would this knowledge empower her, or would it unlock a burden too heavy to bear? As she stood at the crossroad of understanding and responsibility, the wind picked up, carrying the scent of wet earth and promise. What awaited her at this hill? What legacy could transform her fight into something much larger? And just as this thought crystallized, a piercing lightning strike lit up the sky, as if it were a signal. Michelle took a deep breath. What awaited her next? With the storm above them echoing the tempest in her soul, Michelle stood on the crest of the hill, feeling the weight of the moment settle around her like the damp mist. Daniel's gaze bore into hers, steady and unwavering. "Your grandmother made sacrifices, choices born from love and hardship. She wanted you to know the truth about your family, about where you come from, and where you can go." The raindrops fell softly, and the world around them faded. It was just Daniel, Michelle, and the stories yet to be shared. "Your grandmother was a fighter," he continued. "She faced discrimination and rejection, but she never stopped loving those who needed it most. She often said that her greatest legacy isn't just about bloodlines, but about the strength of the community and the love you share." Michelle swallowed hard. Every word felt like a piece of a puzzle she didn't know was missing. What did she do? She finally found her voice, her hands trembling with anticipation. With a deep breath, Daniel reached into his jacket and pulled out an old, weathered journal. The cover was tattered but beautiful, stitched delicately instead of bound. "She wanted you to have this. It's filled with her stories, her struggles, and her dreams for you and those around you." He handed it to her, and their fingers brushed briefly a gentle connect that felt familial. Michelle cradled the journal close, her heart racing. "What stories? What dreams?" she whispered. Daniel's expression softened, his eyes reflecting the memories of her grandmother. Stories of resilience amidst loss. Of families torn apart yet pieced together in love. Tales of how she united people in your town, advocating for change, standing against prejudice, just like you are doing now. This isn't just a gift, it's a torch passing all that courage down to you. Michelle felt the journal's weight against her chest, as if it held not just her grandmother's words, but a charge of responsibility, a mission. "I want to honor that. I want to keep that fight alive." A smile escaped from Daniel. "Then you're already on the right path. But remember, it won't always be easy, and you will face resistance. Your voice can break chains, but you need your community at your side." Suddenly, the clouds parted just enough for a beam of sunlight to break through, illuminating the land below the diner, echoing with voices ready to unite. Michelle took a deep breath. She understood, fully, that her strength wasn't just her own. It was generated by everyone who believed in their cause, every story that connected them. "Let us go back," she said, determination seeping into her voice. "We have work to do." Daniel nodded, a spark of pride lighting up his features. As they descended the hill together, Michelle clutched the journal fiercely, knowing she was not just carrying her grandmother's memories, but becoming the vessel of change in her community. Back at the diner, the atmosphere had shifted. Jesse, Paul, and Lucy awaited her return, hope vibrant in their eyes. "Did you find what you were looking for?" Jessie asked, her voice a melody of anticipation. "I did," Michelle declared, stepping forward, the journal held close to her heart. "And it's time we share our stories together. It's time we fight for our voices to be heard." The diner's energy crackled like electricity. Patrons looked up, their eyes bright with curiosity and eagerness to understand. Michelle felt an extraordinary bond tightening among them, a family forged through toil and shared ambition. "Let us host that community meeting," she continued, her voice rising. "Let us gather everyone and share our truth stories of resilience, of love, of worth." Cheers erupted, filling the diner and echoing through the walls. This was at a moment of unity where individual battles merged into one voice. Every table and booth held strength, past grievances melting away as hope and determination infused the space. As they began planning, Michelle felt a rush of fulfillment. The plans started flowing like the rivers running beneath the storm clouds: flyers, social media blasts, personal invitations. Each idea was born from whispers of courage that filled her heart, the spirit of her grandmother alive and guiding her forward. Standing in that mortal realm of nostalgia blended with purpose, a realization washed over her: their community was indeed a tapestry woven from countless stories, each one a crucial thread. She knew that the next gathering wouldn't just be about her or any individual, but a heartbeat echoing for the collective, unyielding against adversity. As she shared her grandmother's journal with her closest friends, they listened intently, each page sparking discussions of their own narratives. It felt like a fire had been lit, a bonfire of voices ready to blaze into the horizon of change. "Let us meet at the diner tomorrow at 7 to finalize everything," she declared. There was a palpable energy in the air, binding them together, an anthem of unity fueling their spirit. And as the day wound down to dusk, Michelle stood outside the diner, the warmth of humanity surrounding her. She gazed up at the sky, now lit with twinkling stars that seemed to whisper promises of hope. She understood fully now, a movement was more than just words and plans, it was about stories shared, transformations embraced, and a community standing together for respect and dignity, and this was just the beginning of something extraordinary. The future felt bright, and Michelle, armed with love and determination, was ready to fight. Now, more than ever, they would rise, and their resilience would ripple through the town. With every story shared, every voice raised, they would plant seeds of change that would grow into a beautiful legacy. So, here's the urgent call to you, beloved listener. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on more stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread love. Comment below your feelings and reactions to this powerful transformation. And for goodness sake, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey, because true fans like you understand the importance of supporting this channel. Don't wait not even one more second to be part of our growing family.